Okay, let's dive in. We've got quite a collection of sources here. These are reflections, really, from writers, artists, friends, all remembering Edmund White. We're looking at pieces that touch on, his life, his huge body of work, and the kind of mark he left. Our goal is just to pull out the key insights, to get a better feel for who he was through their eyes.
Yeah, and what strikes you right away is the range of perspectives. They all paint a picture of someone who was, well, complex, but also deeply influential. These aren't just biographies, they're personal glimpses. You see him as a writer, sure, but also as a friend, mentor, this sort of cultural figure. They highlight this mix of smarts, incredible honesty, and a real appetite for life that clearly touched people. So we'll dig into the main themes popping up in these tributes.
And one theme that really jumps out is this idea of Edmund White as a permission giver. You see this especially in the context of gay literature. Source after source mentions his, like, shocking candor, this total lack of shame, particularly writing about sex between men, back when almost nobody was doing that so openly. Books like A Boy's Own Story get mentioned a lot. They were apparently massive for younger writers. Kind of show them their own desires could be right at the heart of their art. One writer even talks about secretly buying it as a teenager, being terrified but also thrilled.
That story captures it perfectly, doesn't it? What he did wasn't just self-expression. The sources call it revolutionary, really, because of the times and what he was writing about. He wrote so frankly and in different ways, too. Sometimes it was mournful, sometimes ecstatic, sometimes almost like a documentary. He managed to be both very literary and incredibly explicit. Now, this bravery, it maybe came at a cost. Some sources suggest homophobia might have limited his broader recognition, at least for a time. But still, his boldness, it didn't just challenge the norms, it actually started to break them down. It played a huge role in changing things. Sources are pretty clear. Modern gay writing wouldn't be what it is if he hadn't written so openly, without apology, about his life.
So moving from the writing to the man himself, these memories give such a vivid sense of him. Beyond the famous author, you hear about this incredible generosity, his really wicked sense of humor, his famous love of gossip, which sounds like he turned it into an art. And these specific little quirks, too, like his famous blush that apparently covered his whole face, or this infectious giggle. There's a great story about his daily book club with Yoon Lee, reading like 80 to 120 books, just giggling and gossiping about everyone, living writers, dead writers, even characters in the books. He sounds like he was, as one person put it, a deliciously slutty friend. He could tell a dirty story one minute and then offer something really deep the next.
It's fascinating, too, how those personal things weren't separate from his work or his influence. The sources really show they were all tangled up together. His generosity, his real interest in younger writers, people saw that as coming from his core, Part of his politics, his personal commitment to showing a better way to be in the world. He was always endorsing books, reading manuscripts, offering encouragement. And the gossip, it wasn't just trivial chatter. Sources call it a kind of pre-publishing, his way of making sense of the world. Apparently, that's why people told him things. They wanted him as their naughty interpreter. And even that blush and giggle right to the end. Sources didn't see it as naive. They saw it as proof he never got cynical, never lost his ability to feel simple pleasure or curiosity, even after everything he went through.
Yeah, and looking at his whole career, the sources really stress the sheer range, fiction, memoir, biography, criticism. He mastered it all. Some felt he might be the last of that kind of American literary figure, truly skilled in letters in every sense. And through all of it, despite huge health challenges. I mean, surviving HIV after being diagnosed way back in '84, strokes, a heart attack, he just kept going, kept writing, kept publishing. He even turned his apartment into this lively hub when he couldn't get out much anymore, often with his partner Michael Carroll's help. That survival story, especially with HIV, comes up again and again. They call him a Lazarus.
And that resilience, that refusal to disengage, was clearly inspiring to people. Sources felt he really challenged the usual ideas about getting older, especially for a gay man and a writer. He showed a way to stay busy, stay in love, stay creative, deep into life. He apparently met people very democratically, didn't care about status, just about connection and shared experience. His life itself seemed to teach lessons people took away. Pay attention, write it down, fall in love all the time, be kind. He stayed curious, hungry, never bitter, publishing work right up until last year.
So from being this permission giver who changed how people wrote about desire, to being this incredibly generous, funny friend who made gossip and art, to being this resilient figure who faced so much but never lost that blush or giggle. Edmund White's impact, seen through these sources, it's just immense. He had this unique mix of brain power, emotional honesty, and a real love for pleasure and connection. He was an icon, but also kind of a role model.
Which leaves us, and you, with something to think about. These sources describe how White put pleasure, love, and sex right at the center of his life and his writing. He argued they were vital. to the human animal and, by extension, to the artistic work we animals produce. So what does his insistence on keeping the full, messy, joyful, and sometimes dark reality of human experience, especially sex and love, right there in his art and his life? What does that teach you about what's truly important, both in how you live your own life and maybe in the art you